Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning. Welcome to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. I'm Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Going to go over a lot of stakes action from yesterday. Obviously, Kentucky Downs underway. They had a nice stakes card yesterday. Colonial Downs with the Virginia Derby and other stakes on their card as well. The International Trot from Yonkers. There was a nice little 3-year-old sprint stake at Monmouth yesterday as well. I did not pull up the replay, but I will note that Woodbine yesterday, Moira got back on track. I believe had been winless this year in maybe 3 starts. Last year's Queen's Plate and the Horse of the Year last year. But Moira yesterday in the Canadian up at Woodbine got back on track in fine fashion, winning by over 6 lengths. Fev Rover, who we talked about coming out of the win at Colonial, which we looked at yesterday in the Beverly D, went off as the 75-cent to $1 favorite up there, but wound up disappointing 4th. But Moira looked very good yesterday in the Canadian, heading to the E.P. Taylor subsequently down the road. Also wanted to pull up, we had the notes on Saratoga being off handle-wise this year, and obviously a lot of that was the weather, other issues as well. But with Delmar concluded, they actually had a similar dip in their handle. Their handle numbers out at Delmar, the article I'm reading was kind of projecting out a little bit, but they were projecting 520 million as compared to last year, 579. So it was a dip similar to Saratoga percentage-wise out there. So it's kind of interesting. Considering what this may mean for racing in general, although they, as the article states, also had some quirky weather out there. Normally rain is not a situation, but they had the hurricane out there, which made them cancel racing, and the article mentions it. They lost Sunday, August 20th because of the Hurricane Hillary. So again, they had a little weather issue out there as well. And the overall numbers, I didn't print up the overall numbers that came out a few days ago, looking at August and then the year as well, handle and whatnot. I might have printed it up. I'll look it up. I might have printed it up for yesterday. I'll look it up and see. And after the break, maybe hit on the exact numbers. But obviously some numbers are down there as well. And I think we also have to remember, besides weather, earlier this summer, there was a number of cancellations at various widespread venues because of that fire up in Canada. And again, luckily, that did not affect Saratoga because it seemed like that was a possibility. But when we're looking at overall industry numbers at this point in the year, that's worth remembering and noting. And as I say, let's see if I do have those national numbers printed up for the month and the year to date. Otherwise, as I say, some nice racing yesterday, and why don't we hop into that? We'll kind of work our way back from the highlighted Kentucky Downs yesterday, and then go over to Colonial and look at some of the others. But the card wound up yesterday with the Kentucky Turf Cup, a Grade 2 event, $1.7 million, and it will be Get Smokin' getting it done. The number 5 horse, Spooky Channel second, Santon third. The favorite was Red Knight. That one ran 4th. I like the Shug Trainee, Never Explain the 8 horse. That one a little bit of a disappointing 9th in here. But it is Get Smokin'. Fernando de la Cruz on top for Mark Cassie. Takes him all the way around in the 1.5 mile race and wins it pretty easily there, paying $41.14. Interesting. I would go back and read the article in the Daily Racing Forum because David Carroll, the assistant, credits the owner, who obviously kind of quirky. This horse was a private purchase for the ownership group. After the private purchase, they elect to go over to the UAE, well beaten there, 45 lengths beaten there. And then they tried a number of mile races, 7.5 furlong sprint, ran fourth last time before this start in the Kentucky Downs Turf Cup preview after having shown speed and fading. So over the last couple of seasons, this horse 11 starts and only 1 win. But David Carroll said, the trainer said, why don't we try the Turf Cup at 1.5 miles and maybe the speed will be productive. And we have said it a number of times over the years. It's counterintuitive, but oftentimes, yes, speed is more dangerous when you go longer. And that proved to be the case yesterday with Get Smokin'. As I say, taking them all the way around, winning by 1 3/4 at 19-1. So a nice performance there for Get Smokin'. And as I say, the team kind of crediting the owner for a little out of the box thinking. And again, I would tell going back and reading the Racing Form article because it was kind of interesting. It makes the point. Has been kind of out of the box thinking, but got it done yesterday at Kentucky Downs. Also at Kentucky Downs yesterday, the ladies turf sprint. I liked Baystorm, Jonathan Thomas, trainee, coming out of a win, Kentucky Downs preview over at Ellis. The winner will be, yes, number 6 Baystorm. In a ding-dong battle, it's a neck victory over Wakanaka, who I had in second, so I like the exacta there. Tony Ann runs third, but you will see as they come under the wire, neck, head, between first and second and third. So it was a nice ding-dong battle. Florent Giro on board Baystorm, $7.74, holds off Wakanaka. As I say, I like the exacta in there. For the exacta, you got $25 and change. So a nice little exacta there in the ladies turf sprint. Again, came out of a win in the preview race for this over at Ellis. Before that, had been in a stake at Belmont running fourth, and before that, a turf sprint stake at Churchill running second. So it'd come into this with 1 victory and 5 starts this year, but that's another nice victory for $1 million in the Grade 2 ladies turf sprint at Kentucky Downs yesterday. Also on the card at Katy, Kentucky Downs, it was the turf sprint. And I was in here yesterday for OTB Live, and we were looking at Kentucky Downs during the afternoon. I felt pretty good with the results because it's so quirky. It's hard to do it. Maybe 4 or 5 winners on top, which I thought was a decent day at Kentucky Downs. This was not one of my victories, though. But, wow, you want to talk about a ding-dong finish. I like the number 7, Cogburn here. Cogburn at 7-2 winds up 5th. But the chart margin here, the winner's going to be Gear Jockey, the number 9 horse. Number 1, one-timer second. Bad Beat Brian 4 runs third. But the chart margin for the first 6, 7 finishers, head, neck, neck, head, neck, head. This is as ding-dong a ding-dong finish as you can get. They're right there. Boy, that was close. But it was getting it done. Gear Jockey for Rusty Arnold. The Racing Forum article said some folks walked up to him after the race he was watching and said, I think he got it. He was not, I think from the article, it sounds like he thought he had it too. And from watching, you can kind of tell it's close, but it looked like the leader held on. But he was not taking anything for granted. And then when the horse got the photo, obviously elated there. Coming out of a poor performance in the Van Cleef at Colonial to start the season, ended last season with a tough next to last place finish in the Turf Sprint Championship at Aqueduct. But you go down the page, this horse had some things to like, but it was interesting. The Daily Racing Form article said, particularly given those last two, again, started the season running 6th by 11 lengths, ended last season running 9th by 11 lengths. And the article said gear jockey at 23-1 could easily have had double the price. And as I say, coming out of the last two, yes. But down the page, though, there were some things to like. If you looked and thought, I'm going to take a shot, you could have made a case. I mean, it wasn't necessarily a no-hoper, but I would not argue with the thought that was expressed in the racing form that the 23-1 might have been a little short. One timer was actually the 3-2 favorite. That one again ran second by a head. I had that one right underneath in my mix. The Larry Ravelli trainee coming out of that Ellis Park Kentucky Downs preview race for this race. And Cogburn again coming out of a win in the Troy up at Saratoga for Steve Asmussen was the direction I tilted right there. I mean, again, ran 5th as the second choice. Second choice at 7-2, but 5th, head, neck, head, back. So there was a bunch of them in the mix there in what would have to be called a thrilling finish at Kentucky Downs. Even more thrilling if you had a gear jockey at $48.60. And with over the 3-2 favorite, you still wound up with a $210 exacta. So if you like gear jockey, you got paid there. Ladies turf in here. This one's interesting, and the Racing Forum highlighted this. They said on the board, no fractions were being shown, and in the chart, there are no fractions. So we'll see if somebody can kind of hand time this and pull it up. But in the ladies' turf, it will be number 1, Regal Realm, getting it done. I kind of kicked myself that I didn't use this horse. I didn't have this one in my mix. I like New Year's Eve. That one winds up as the favorite last in the field. But it is number 1, Regal Realm, for Jonathan Thomas and Augustin. And just on that, I should have had the horse in the mix. You got $14.16. Sparkle Blue, the 6th, runs second. And White Frost runs third. But Regal Realm, again, going back to my fandom of the late, great Jonathan Shepard, when he was training Augustin runners up at Saratoga, I always used to pay attention to those. And Regal Realm was 3-1 on the morning line, so it was playable and likable, and I left it out of the mix, much to my chagrin after the race, because again, 3-1 on the morning line and went up to 6-1. You got a decent price for a horse that was in some pretty good form. I'd won a little stakes race up at Canterbury 2-back, tried the Della Rose last time at Saratoga and was third behind Technical Analysis and White Frost, but was playable. Coming into the race, 4 wins, a second, and 3 thirds, and 11 starts. So in the hunt far more often than not, including 3 wins and 4 starts this year. The only non-win was that third against the Salty Group in the Della Rose up at Saratoga. So got back to her winning ways on Saturday in the ladies' turf. And finally, we will also take a look at the Franklin Simpson at Kentucky Downs yesterday. Grade 2 event, $1 million. And this is that subdivision I like, the 3-year-olds on the turf. Another one I left out of my mix, Private Creed. I like Close the Game Sugar, who winds up getting up for 4th. Doesn't run badly, but the Adam Rice runner that had won the stakes race, the Mahoney up at Saratoga, and was kind of a fun story coming in from Presque Isle Downs. But Private Creed takes the lead into the lane, and at 6-1 gets it done actually pretty easily. Playlist second, Sweet Cherry Pie third. As I say, Close the Game Sugar runs 4th at 7-1. But it was Private Creed for trainer Steve Asmussen. And I said when I was in here handicapping yesterday, I had the race right, the prep race right. I like Close the Game Sugar, who won the Mahoney. Private Creed was a close-up second in that very same race. So I had the Mahoney right as producing the winner. I just went in the wrong direction. But it was Private Creed getting it done. 6 start of the season and the first win. Had only had a couple of second-place finishes so far this year to show in those 5 starts, but one of them was that run in the Mahoney, which may have indicated horses moving in the right direction here late in the season or later in the season, and does get it done coming down from the Saratoga base. The last workout had been right up here at Saratoga. So goes down and picks up the better part of $1 million in the Franklin Simpson Private Creed, the winner again for Steve Asmussen with Joel Rosario on board. And I don't know whether I gave credit to all the jockeys there. Get Smoking, as they said, it was Fernando de la Cruz. Bay Storm was Flojo, Florent Giraud, gear jockey Jose Lascano on gear jockey in the turf sprint. Flojo again on Regal Realm in the ladies turf. And then, as I say, Joel Rosario was on board Private Creed in the Franklin Simpson. So it was a nice, fun day at Kentucky Downs. 2 more days left. They have today. We'll be looking at Kentucky Downs again this afternoon on OTB Live. And then Wednesday, I believe, is their last day of the season for Kentucky. 7 days, millions and millions of dollars. You wind up with big competitive fields, but you also wind up with handicapping puzzles because it's a quirky course. Some horses like it. Some horses maybe not so much. As I said, I felt pretty good yesterday with the results. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull them up here. But as I say, I think I had 4 or 5 yesterday, which, again, for Kentucky Downs on an afternoon, I feel pretty good with because it just is so quirky that you look at the form and you see horses that you feel like, well, this one could be okay, and then they just don't take to the course. So you don't know. I'm just pulling up here. That's last week's results. So there we go. So yesterday, 1, 2, 4 on the day, it looks like. So again, as I say, I'm perfectly happy with that. And a track that can prove to be quite quirky. Didn't pull up the replay before we go to the break, though. I will mention there was a stake earlier on the card, the ladies marathon Vergara, who I liked in there, and the betting public did too. 2-1 favorite. Got it done for Graham Motion. A mile and 5/16, and Vergara kind of sat off the pace for much of it and then took the lead late and held on in the 6-horse field at $6.52. So again, nice stakes day number 5 of the 7-day meet down at Kentucky Downs. Also a nice stakes day at Colonial. So we'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll look at some of those races, stakes races down at Colonial, including the Virginia Derby and more. And then we have some other stakes to touch on before we wrap things up. So all of that when Racing Across America continues. We'll take a quick break. Be right back. See you then.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Sunday morning. Seth Merrow in the studio, back in the studio now after better part of a couple of months up at Saratoga on the backstretch. For folks who didn't see the show the last couple of days, we were back in on Friday for the first time. A lot of people may be working on Friday, but I repeated it yesterday. But if you didn't catch yesterday's morning shows, let me just repeat once again. We appreciate your patronage at OTB during the Saratoga meet, but also the great feedback we normally get on the front side at Saratoga. Obviously, that is the core audience, and so when I walk around the track in the afternoon, get a lot of nice feedback and much appreciated. And hopefully, you enjoyed the morning programming. I always say the biggest names in horse racing, just a golf cart ride away. So trainers, owners, jockeys, industry folks. Media people certainly appreciate the Clancy brothers and Tom Law, Sean and Joe Clancy, Tom Law, and a number of the interns. Nolan Clancy came over, and some of the interns from Saratoga Special. They're always fun to plug in, and they were regulars on Wednesdays. On Thursdays, we had Mike Welch and Dave Grenig, so thanks to them as well. And then we plugged in. It was fun to have the last day of the meet, given the scenario. Linda Rice came in. I tried her from almost day one, and she's just very busy. And so she kept saying, I'm coming. And finally, it came down to the last day, but the timing was great given the scenario there of winning the last race to tie. She won the first race of the meet and the last race of the meet. And Gary Contessa won the stake on the first day of the meet at a big price, and then the stake on the last day of the meet at a big price. So that was kind of an interesting bookend situation as well. But you know, of course, we had Brad Cox in towards the end of the meet, Tyler Gaffleone on the jockey side, Lee Einseidler on the owner side, Lisa Lazarus from HISA, Tom Rooney from the NTRA on the industry side of things. So it was fun. We had a great lineup, and as I say, the feedback always very good, and it was good again this year, and certainly appreciate that. All right, let's take a look now at some of that stakes action yesterday from Colonial. End of the day was the Colonial Cup at 1.5 miles. Winner here is going to be Starting Over, the number 3 horse. Starting Over, morning line 20-1. Betting public was a little more enamored with this one. Went off at 6-1. Trevor McCarthy on board, and he gets it done. Dinah Drive second, McLovin third. Side Dog, the $1.50. The 3-2 favorite, winds up running fourth. But Starting Over for Mike Maker, getting it done. Last raced up at Saratoga in an optional claimer. Not a lot of stakes on the resume, but and you can see it was getting dark there. I will note, what was the eventual the off time was 7:24. It was scheduled to go off at 6:55, and if you weren't watching Colonial yesterday, we had it here on the network. There was I want to say before about the fourth race, there was a weather delay where they had some rain, but more importantly, they had some lightning that they were kind of waiting for. So there was a delay that kind of pushed everything back a bit. So it was a little later than scheduled, and you can tell it was a little dark there. But Starting Over does get it done. Trevor McCarthy. We had Trevor's agent on as well. We had Joe Migliori on talking a little bit about repping Trevor and his wife Katie Davis. Katie with a great meet up at Saratoga, and Joe noted Trevor was struggle, wrong word, but wasn't quite as proficient at Saratoga as maybe they would have liked. But I noted if you look at he went out of town a number of times down to Monmouth and did great, and then Colonial yesterday picks up the Colonial Cup. So again, it seems like the Saratoga meet was maybe a little bit of an aberration for Trevor, and I'm sure he will be right back on track in the fall because he was riding well during the summer. It was just at the various venues, including yesterday at Colonial Downs on Starting Over. $14 and change again on the horse that was a generous 20-1 on the morning line, but the betting public was not to be fooled there. All right, let's move to the Virginia Derby. Again, as the name indicates, we're right in that wheelhouse of the subdivision. I like the 3-year-olds on the turf. And this one is fun because We had Tyler Gaffleone on just after he had come back from Colonial and the Arlington Million Day. He had been on board this horse for West Point Thoroughbreds and Shug in the career debut. It's number 9, Integration, who, again, was coming off that debut effort, which was solid. And Trevor talked a little bit about this horse. We talked a little bit about this horse when we had Terry Finley on subsequently. This is a nice horse for West Point and Company. And the follow-up article to this race said, I'm assuming those must be some West Point partners. But the follow-up article quoted Terry Finley saying, Shug said, hey, let's try the Virginia Derby. And I wasn't quite sure, but you put your trust in Shug and gets it done. Running second there was number 11, Program Trading. Third was Runaway Storm. Program Trading, an undefeated runner from Chad and Klarovich, was actually the 3-5 favorite. Meanwhile, Integration goes off at 6-1, so you got $15 and change. But given that this is a win over the clearly talented Program Trading, who is coming out of a win in the Saratoga Derby and only the third career start, 3 for 3 for Chad and Klarovich, with a length and a quarter victory over that one, and Program Trading is well clear of the third place finisher. This is a legit win for Integration. They have the folks at West Point and Company and Shug, Kendrick Carmouche on board. Congratulations to Kendrick. They're legit with Integration. 2 starts, 2 wins. They bought the horse right up here at Facing Tipton last year for $700,000, and I would say a belated debut. But Terry said, we knew we had a nice one. Shug knew we had a nice one, and so they're kind of working, and they make the debut on that Arlington Million Day, middle of August. Win nicely, and then in the second career start, pick up the Virginia Derby, $500,000 Grade 3 event. So congratulations to West Point and Company on a nice little purchase, and now a 2-for-2 runner with a stakes win. We are getting towards the end of that kind of 3-year-old on turf season I like, and one of the reasons I like it, races like this. I always say that right from the start of the year, various venues around the country have fun little 3-year-old turf stakes races that tend to get fun competitive fields. Up at Saratoga, the National Museum of Racing and Virginia Derby, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now that also you have that New York series on the turf. But again, you get to the late summer, early fall, maybe those opportunities start to dwindle. So I can't really say he's going to be a player in that subdivision, but you would have to think he's going to be a player on the turf wherever he goes, given what we saw. So a nice win for Integration. Again, Kendrick Carmouche on board for Shug, West Point, and Company. Also, yesterday, the Virginia Oaks, obviously, as the name indicates, on the 3-year-old filly side of things. The winner here was 30 Thou Kelvin, coming out of a win at Delaware in the Christiana. 12-1 on the morning line, and the betting public was right about there at 11-1. 30 Thou Kelvin, the number 6 horse, number 1 Root Cause at 19-1 second. Alpha Bella runs third, and the favorite Mission of Joy runs fourth in here. But 30 Thou Kelvin, you can see, just holds on. Chart margins a neck from second to third. So another ding-dong finish there. And who's on board? Trevor McCarthy's on board. So, again, nice day for him, $24 and change. John Terranova, trainee. And as you would expect, John Terranova, New York-based guy. This horse has been working up at Saratoga. So we had some Saratoga-based horses going down and picking up the big money down there. Coming out of the win, there was a little something to like. The numbers were maybe a little bit light. Again, Mission of Joy as the even money favorite had better numbers, was coming out of a poor performance in the Belmont Oaks last time for Grand Motion, but on the numbers, maybe had the edge that folks tilted towards, but that one winds up fourth. Off again, couple of months on the sidelines. Last seen early July. So again, this was a couple of months training down at Fair Hill for Graham, and we'll see what Mission of Joy can do next time. Now with a little comebacker under the belt, because this was a talented runner, and the betting public jumped on board as the favorite, winds up fourth in there. But again, the 2-month layoff may have played into that, and we'll see where Mission of Joy goes and does next. I certainly think that's a talented runner, but 30 Thou Kelvin, maybe a little bit of a coming out party kind of a thing. Did have that win in the stake at Delaware last time, but it was kind of a minor ungraded stake. And really that was the standout on the resume so far. But adding the Virginia Oaks yesterday, the John Terranova trainee, probably worth watching going forward. And again, another nice win on the day for Trevor McCarthy. Let's also take a look at the Rosies, which featured 2-year-olds sprinting down at Colonial Downs. These are ones that maybe are worth watching going forward. It winds up to be no-name Mets for George Weaver, who continues his very good year. This horse won the Tyro last time down at Monmouth, and on that went off as the 30 cent to the dollar favorite, lived up to it very nicely. As you can see, chart margin will be 3 1/4. Second place finisher is also 3 3/4 ahead. So they kind of stand out. No-name Mets with the winner. Tupi runs second. That's a Graham Motion trainee who was coming off a debut win July 1st down at Laurel, and followed that up very nicely. And Tupi, the debut effort down at Laurel was on the dirt. So they have a nice little daughter of Uncle Mo there. Again, it was a second place finish. It was a well-beaten 3 1/4, but well clear of the rest of the field, only the second start. So no-name Mets, that was the third start, had debuted at Gulfstream in a stakes race. And then subsequently, they took this one over to Royal Ascot. And George Weaver had a winner at Royal Ascot. This wasn't the one. But then they came back and won the Tyro. So a couple of stakes wins in the United States, bookending that try at Royal Ascot. Now has put another stake on the resume. So no-name Mets is legit, at least sprinting on the turf. We will see. It's a 2-year-old. We'll see what they do the remainder of the year and heading into next year. But given the talent for that one, Tupi, and only the second career start, probably one to watch as well from Graham Motion. All right, and let me once again give credit also. It was a George Weaver trainee, as I say. Paco Lopez was on board, no-name Mets. Also on the day, we had the Kitten's Joy. That one for the 2-year-old. The 2-year-olds, I would assume 2-year-old boys, but given that it's just open like that, I'm looking to see if maybe a filly jumped into the mix, and I do not see. So it was the 2-year-old. Oh, no, there was a filly. Mainstream Sellout. So, and Determined Sale. There were a couple of fillies in there. But so the 2-year-old's going 1.16 on the turf in the Kitten's Joy. It will wind up to be Tok Tok, another Graham Motion trainee. Jorge Ruiz on board. TikTok went off at 5-1 off a debut win. Debuted at Colonial on July 27th, sprinting on the turf. Got up for a nice gutsy win at 3-5, and now stretches out for Graham Motion and does so successfully. So TikTok, one to watch going forward. Now 2 for 2. Nice late run you saw there from Triple Espresso at 5-2. Took a little action as a first-time starter, son of Omaha Beach for Todd Pletcher, Rapoli and Company. So they made a gutsy move, putting in a first-time starter. That did not deter the betting public, though. Triple Espresso was 5-1 on the morning line, but with those connections, went off at 5-2 and made a nice late run. So I think they probably have a nice little horse as well to debut in a spot like that and make that late run. And then one of those fillies, Determined Sale, winds up running third for Phil Schoenthal off a couple of turf sprints at Colonial to start the career. Broke the maiden in the debut and then ran third against some optional claimers. So nice performance for that one. probably have a good little runner going forward also. Look at one more here at Colonial, the DeHaas. And this one's kind of interesting because the winner scratched out of a stake at Kentucky Downs, and you always wonder, are they making the right move there? Yes, they were making the right move with No Balls, who gets it done, scratches out of the stakes race at Kentucky Downs, goes over to Colonial to try the DeHaas, $150,000 stake, and No Balls with Pablo Morales on board for Larry Ravelli, gets it done by a head at 6-5. Allegan, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, the number 5 is second. Super Quest runs third, but you can see with the late run there, just getting up by a head at 6-5. It's Nobles. Came out of a second place finish behind Cogburn in the Troy, and this race was run before the Cogburn race, and so when I was in here handicapping yesterday, I said you would think flattered Cogburn, but I still couldn't get Cogburn over the wire in that ding-dong finish over at Kentucky Downs. But the Troy does prove to be productive over at Colonial with No Balls getting it done. So, again, at the various venues, there were some horses who had raced last time at Saratoga or had worked at Saratoga. So Saratoga did have something of an influence on the day at some of the various venues we were looking at. But there's Kentucky Downs and Colonial Downs, both with really nice stakes action yesterday. Certainly horses that are going to be worth watching going forward. But there was some other stakes action on the day. We'll hit on just a couple, three more before we wrap things up on this edition of Racing Across America. But before we do that, we'll take a break. I'll be back. Seth Merrow in the studio. Appreciate your tuning in. Stay tuned. Back in just a minute.
To be more successful, what if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. You'll get live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform, and best of all, you get track prices. CapitalOTBBet.com. Bet any place, anytime at CapitalOTBBet.com. And be sure to download our new mobile app from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back. As I said, a few more worth taking a look at from yesterday. Delmar wrapping up their summer meet and the debutante grade 1 event, $300,000 for the 2-year-old fillies. And this may be one to watch going forward. Nice full field in here. They had a field of 12. But you can see making it look pretty easy. Number 9 is Tamara. Number 13, Laurent runs second. Number 12, Gate to Paradise runs third. But Mike Smith on board for Richard Mandela, winning off, again, the chart margin 6 3/4 lengths as the 6-5 favorite. Mike Smith, in post-race comments, made it clear he was very impressed with the performance, felt it was very easy, and he was just kind of surprised by how easy and how the horse pulled away. But this horse certainly bred to be very, very good. Boltioro on top. Boltioro has become an interesting sire of precocious runners. But underneath, Beholder. So Boltioro out of Beholder, owned by Spendthrift, trained by Richard Mandel. And again, ridden in both starts so far by Mike Smith. won the career debut at Delmar. And impressed there. Folks came out of that thinking the horse was very, very good. 80 buyer in the debut effort, won by a couple of lengths. And yesterday, just pulled up, our friend Steve Bick posted that yesterday's win by Tamara, 91 buyer in Delmar debutante. So again, she moves into the conversation, certainly amongst the top of the 2-year-old fillies, if not the top of that conversation with that performance, particularly given that, Breeders' Cup is out in that direction this year. So Mandela will be right out of his barn with Tamara. Also yesterday, I wanted to pull this one up because we were looking at Monmouth here on the network with OTB Live yesterday afternoon. And this kind of stood out to me. This is the Smoke Glacken at Monmouth, 6 furlongs. So 2-year-old sprinters, but I thought this was a nice performance. Bookham Dano, the number 8 horse, gets it done. But I'll also point out C Streak, the horse that runs second. Bookham Dano was 2-5. C Streak was 3-1. Bookham Dano was coming out of a nice win in the career debut back on August 12th. Won pretty easily, just under 10 lengths in the career debut. So understandably, goes off yesterday as the 2-5 favorite. Lives up to that, wins by a couple of lengths. But as I say, also wanted to point out the second place finisher, who I had in my mix. I thought the horse was a little bit interesting because there were some nice works, but that was the career debut for C Street. So you elect to take a shot in a $100,000 stake in the career debut, but B, you run well, and you're 2 lengths behind the winner, who is clearly talented, but you're almost 9 lengths ahead of the third place finisher. That was a nice debut. So I wanted to pull it up because I thought both of these are worth watching going forward as interesting 2-year-olds. Bookham Dano now 2 for 2 with 2 very nice efforts, including a stakes win now, but debuting in the stake yesterday and running, I thought, very well. C Streak may be worth watching also. And finally, we were plugging some of these races in as well yesterday at Yonkers. It was their big day, the International yesterday, the International Trot, 1.25 miles, and really winning on the front end all the way around. Vivid Wise, it's Academic who winds up, you can see 4th there. I made a big move going into the backstretch the final time. It was such a big move. I wondered either this horse is really good or maybe going to have been used because it was going kind of wide with that move, but faded to be 4th. But it's Academic was kind of bringing in the North American. You can see it's Academic is 3rd there and was kind of fading from the big move and winds up getting past and winds up 4th. But Vivid Wise, Italian runner, comes in and gets it done for Italy as the favorite. Winds up paying $7.50, went off as the 5-2 favorite, and wins it pretty easily with the chart margin, a couple of lengths. You can see there a little celebration, a little blowing a kiss to the crowd. Nice win there, Vivid Wise. The 1.25 miles in 2:23. And again, 1.25 miles, they kind of launched on the backstretch. So they put in 1/4 of a mile before they hit what would be the normal mile starting time. And Vivid Wise, again, takes them all the way around essentially to get it done. 2:23 and 1. Last quarter, 56 and 3. I always say it. When I was a kid, those numbers would have been crazy impressive. But now they do it all the time. You go up to Saratoga Harness, they break 2 minutes like nothing. And when I was a kid, that was fireworks went off when they broke a couple of minutes. But 2:23 for the 1.25 miles is very good as well. So congratulations to the Connections, the Italian winner, getting it done in the International at Yonkers, which I believe had a purse, $1 million purse yesterday. Yeah, and they had a ton of nice stakes races on the Yonkers card as well. If you're a sulky fan, you got unfortunately the weather didn't cooperate, but the weather a little less of a factor. It's still a factor, but a little less of a factor than it can be on the flat side of things. But it was a nice day. Otherwise, as I say, here on the network, we watched a lot of that stakes action yesterday. Mentioned it earlier, Moira gets it done in the Canadian. She's headed on to the EP Taylor, but gets back on track after, I said earlier, it's either, I want to say 0 for 3, maybe 0 for 4 so far this year. She'd run very well, just hadn't gotten it done. Speaking of Canada, I mentioned it yesterday. Paramount Prince, the winner of the King's Plate, will be coming back Tuesday. Tuesday is the Prince of Wales at Fort Erie. I'll also toss this out to people. If you're so inclined, Fort Erie's a kind of an easy. I always talk about going up to Woodbine. You drive out to Buffalo and take a right. Well, you drive out to Buffalo and take a right for Fort Erie, and you're almost right there. It's kind of just over from Buffalo. So it is a very easy drive, up the thruway, and it's a fun little track. The infield is very quirky. It's like a forest in there. There's the race every year where the connections jump into the lake after the Puss in Boots, maybe. They jump into the lake after the race, but there's a real forest there, it seems like, in the infield. Little tiki bar. I remember I was walking around when I visited Fort Erie and got recognized in the tiki bar. People, hey, OTB. So you may run into some familiar folks. These were folks who had come to Saratoga and hang out and watch some races, but they were out at Fort Erie that day. But as I said, it's a fun little track, easy drive. Tuesday, the Prince of Wales Stakes out there, the second leg of the Canadian Triple Crown. So you might want to think about it. I said earlier, I did have printed up for yesterday the national numbers for August and for the year to date. The handle on U.S. races in August declined just over 7%. The number of races dropped 5.76, 5.75%. Total handle was still 1.1 billion, but dropped by 87 million compared to last year. Now, this year, according to the Matt Haggerty article in the Racing Forum, this year there have been 200 less races, so that's fairly significant. During the month, there were 8 weekends. That was comparable to last year. Average handle was 345,000, a decline of just about 1.5%. Gross purses actually were pretty even. The average field size during August was also pretty even, 7.16 versus 7.13. So field size stayed pretty similar. But the number I mentioned earlier, the year to date, total betting handle down 4.1%. The number of races down 3.8. The purses are up marginally, 0.77%. But again, total betting for the year to date, 4.1. But as I mentioned, Saratoga, I think, plays into that with their season being affected by the weather and their handle being down. We shall see, the Delmar numbers, which would have played into these August numbers. But as I noted at the top when I was reading that article, their the official totals will come out. The article I read was kind of a speculation going into the last few days, but they were anticipating being down kind of a similar percentage to Saratoga. So Saratoga and Delmar, again, both having quirky weather situations. But I will once again note, overall, don't forget there was that period early this summer where you had the smoke situation from Canada, which canceled racing at a number of venues all over from the Midwest to New York. That clearly you would have to think has had an effect on the handle there. So down 4.1%, but there was some quirky situations that maybe we can point to as reasons to look at next year and be curious to see how, if, and when we will rebound. All right, I pulled up here because we do have the 2 days left. I mentioned it yesterday, but I'll mention it again today because, again, Kentucky Downs, 7 days, lots of money, 7 days. And we're 5 days in, so there's a couple days left today, and I believe Wednesday's the last day. I can actually check that. It is the last day is scheduled to be the 13th, which, yes, is Wednesday. So today and Wednesday, the last couple of days at Kentucky Downs. I pulled up trainers and jockeys yesterday. I've got them up again today. It's a tie on the jockey side of things. Tyler Gaffleone and Florent Giraud, after yesterday's racing, tied with 6. And again, 6 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a 7-day meet. Florent Giraud, 35 starts, 6 wins. Tyler Gaffleone, 50 starts, 6 wins. Right behind Joel Rosario, 35 starts, 5 wins. So percentage-wise, he's doing very well, as is Jose Ortiz, 23 starts, 5 wins. So it is Declan Cannon sitting with 4. So you have 5 jockeys within a couple of wins with 2 days of racing left. So the jockey race there should be very, very intriguing down at Kentucky Downs today and Wednesday. And on the trainer side of things, let me grab our Brendan Walsh continues to be in the lead. And it was interesting because yesterday I pulled up last year's stats, and Brendan Walsh really, wasn't up in the top portion last year, but he's doing very well this year. 21 starts for Brendan Walsh. He sits atop the trainer standings with 6 wins. Jonathan Thomas, who again had a couple yesterday, I guess, but had the one for Augusta, and I kind of kicked myself that I didn't use. 16 starts, 4 wins. Mike Maker also with 4 wins. Mike Maker, I believe, when I had pulled up last year, Mike Maker was the leader last year, but he sits now tied for second with 4. And we have 3 more trainers with 3 wins: Graham Motion, Brian Lynch, and Safi Joseph. So again, you have 6 trainers within 3 wins, between 6 on top, Brendan Walsh, and then a number tied with 3, with 3 days left to go, with 2 days left to go. So it should get intriguing, particularly with Mike Maker being a couple of wins behind Brendan Walsh. We'll see how it plays out. But again, the human side of things with the short meet like that, it's going to be a dogfight start to finish, and it seems to be playing out that way. And we'll be watching this afternoon, certainly, and then again on Wednesday as Kentucky Downs looking to wrap up the rich but exclusively short Kentucky Downs meet. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for Racing Across America. Seth Merrow in the studio, taking a look at some of the stakes action from yesterday that, again, will play into the remainder of the year, and certainly some of these will play into the Breeders' Cup as well. There were some performances yesterday that were nice and kind of signaled some horses worth watching going forward. And again, congratulations to our friends at West Point with Integration, who 2 for 2 now and wins the Virginia Derby yesterday. So that one will be fun to watch, certainly. Bookham Dano, as they said, and C Streak. We'll see how they come out. The Smoke Lacken, I don't know, is known necessarily as some kind of super productive race, but they both looked pretty good yesterday. So we'll see in their next 1 or 2 starts. But some of the other performers as well, particularly at Colonial and Kentucky Downs yesterday, will be playing certainly into the races coming up over the next couple of months into the Breeders' Cup. All right, we'll wrap it up. I will be back for OTB Live on a Sunday afternoon, so we'll look forward to seeing you then. I will remind you also that here at the Clubhouse Racebook today, it's a football Sunday. Football action is underway, so throughout the season, we will be offering football Sundays here at the Clubhouse Racebook. Win some prizes, play the horses, watch all the games here at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. We'll look to see you down here later on this afternoon. If you can't make it, fire up your Capital OTB bet account on your phone, your computer, your tablet, and join us right here on OTB TV this afternoon. We'll be showing plenty of action, and I'll be taking a look at now I have to check. I know I looked at Kentucky Downs, and I looked at a little Monmouth today, too. So a little Kentucky Downs, a little Monmouth this afternoon. We may toss in some Saratoga harness. I'll usually print those up and take a little look at the harness track as well. So we may have a little sulky action plugged in also. Whatever. It will be fun. you're invited to join us. We'll all try to cash some tickets. So I'm going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. But again, we'll be back in about an hour and a half or so for OTB Live on a Sunday afternoon. We'll see you then.
The Clubhouse Racebook is the Capital Region's new home for racing and sports. 25,000 square feet of Vegas-style action with live wagering on the best horse racing from around the world. 260 flat-screen televisions and state-of-the-art wagering terminals. So don't miss out. The fun is only minutes away at 711 Central Avenue, Albany, just off exit 5 of I-90. And don't forget, if you can't make it to the Clubhouse, you can always wager online 24/7 at capitalotv.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.